We do have a few more things here, though. I need to send a message to Cyclone fans about Fred Hoiberg and Nebraska. There is a problem here with Cyclone Nation, and we need to find the root problem, the psychological problem, and come at it from that way. And Cyclone Nation, it's going to hurt to hear this, but we need to rip off the Band-Aid of being a losing everything. We are so okay and so ingrained with subpar football and basketball seasons that we want nostalgia over progress. Steve Prohm already has the same number of Big 12 titles as Fred Hoiberg. He is getting the same level, if not better, recruits. And if you say, oh, George Niang is one of the best Cyclones ever, he is. He's one of the best Cyclones ever. He's not one of their best recruits ever.
What was he, a 2 or 3 star probably?
He was a 3-star.
Yeah.
He was a big booty short post guy.
Yeah, he's not he's not really athletic. He was just a good basketball player. Like
Hoiberg went to see Nerlens Noel and
saw George.
Saw George. And so we're getting better recruits now. We're on an upward trajectory still. There's a 5-star post player, in case you hadn't heard, in Oskaloosa with Iowa State on his list still, because this is where the program is at. We need to not choose nostalgia over progress. Fred Hoiberg did not like recruiting in college basketball. And if you're not in it for recruiting, how are you going to build a team? Prohm knows what he's doing. He's here. He has embraced the city. He and Matt Campbell are like best friends. It's kind of weird how often Matt Campbell tweets about the basketball team. But we need to not want Hoiberg back whenever we have a loss. Now, the second part of that is you have to let Hoiberg do what he wants. I don't care that this is a border rivalry. I don't care that this used to be the biggest rival to Iowa State. You know what that means? That means we weren't that good. That means we weren't competing. If at that time you feel more for Nebraska than you feel for Kansas.
Why is Iowa State fans worried about Nebraska in the Big Ten if they're not worried about the Hawkeyes?
That is a great rhetorical question, Brandon, because the answer is they shouldn't.
Exactly.
The answer is, why do they at all?
Exactly.
They are not going to play Nebraska unless they go to the same invitational tournament, probably. I mean, that's the only realistic option. You can say March Madness, but yeah, sorry, Nebraska.
That's we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
I'm pretty sure that has absolutely never. No, they got one, right? They got their.
Tim Miles had one appearance. Yeah.
So did they get a win though, or are they still the only?
No, they
Power
lost.
5?
They lost to Baylor.
This is the only Power 5 conference team that does not have a March Madness win. Is that correct? Not to put salt in it right now.
No, off the top of my head, I don't know, but that sounds right.
Yeah. So why are you worried about him going to an out-of-state team that is a much lower level team
in a different
conference? The state he was born in, I think it was his grandpa coached Nebraska.
Yeah, I think
his grandpa was a Nebraska basketball coach. He was born there, and they're like, "Oh no, he's Iowa State." That is you projecting yourself onto him. Stop picking the nostalgia. Let him do what he wants to be successful after he crashed and burned in the NBA.
I was going to say, didn't Iowa State hate Fred Hoiberg after he left?
They were upset, and this is the most anybody's talked about him. The people that want Fred Hoiberg to be the coach and say that he should not be allowed to go to Nebraska are not people that follow the Bulls. They are not the people that are following Iowa State's current recruiting trails. They are not the people that are comparing, actually, the two coaches against each other.
Yeah, I will make a point. As a guy who doesn't watch a lot of Iowa State, what I remember from Hoiberg's teams is he had a lot of grad transfers. And I thought the same way because of Sayok. I assumed that's kind of that's how I've always seen Iowa State as the team who picks up guys on their 5th-year seniors,
right.
And they're good. They make good teams, but they're always a different team every year.
Yes.
And now that you've informed me about a bunch of freshmen playing, that's way different than Hoiberg, and that's better.
That's the Steve Prohm way because he developed.
That's way better.
Cameron, Isaiah Kanan, is that the guard? There's a guard before Cameron Payne at Murray State that he built and developed. Okay, thank you. And that's Prohm. Hoiberg went to problem situations and got Chris Allen from Michigan State, who had a falling out, and who grabbed Royce White because he was going to be kicked off the Minnesota team for maybe stealing somebody's laptop in a dorm. Nobody talks about that. Royce White is one of my favorite Iowa State players of all time. I wish he would have been successful in the NBA, but he was a super knucklehead. And there was talk, everybody knew that Hoiberg's first year, the starters were getting dominated in practice every day because there are redshirt guys that can't play on the team this year that are Royce White and Chris Allen, and then later DeAndre Kane, and Chris Babb was a transfer, and all of these guys that you're like, he's been here for 3 years. Oh, yeah, because he transferred after his freshman year. That's because Hoiberg didn't like recruiting. And that's the root of that problem. And so we're in a better place right now than we were when Fred left. Even better than any time during Fred's time at Iowa State as a coach. You can say that initially Prohm won with Fred's players. That happened, and that happens everywhere. But he's doing it with his guys now. Yep. And the knuckleheads, he gave them second, third chances. He worked and tried to help Cam Lard, and he's gone now. And I think that if you have a problem with a man choosing where he works, you need to look at yourself in your life and think how you would feel if somebody said, you can't work for that company.
Because you work for us.
Yeah, they're offering me a job.
And you won't.
And this is my area of expertise, and you won't up my pay. It's a little different with Fred, but he kind of does have, in a way, his pick of a good college job. And if he chooses Nebraska because he's from Nebraska, let him choose Nebraska. And I will say, go Big Red during the Big Ten basketball season. And I will cheer for Fred Hoiberg because he did a lot for Iowa State. And I could recognize that he did a lot for Iowa State while also knowing that we're in a better place now moving forward. And that's what I think a lot of Iowa State fans need to hear.
Yeah.
Build a program.
I think it's definitely a wait and see. There's no confirmation as of this recording, but I think it's a good thing to let that go because, who knows? He could flop at Nebraska. It's very possible he could flop at Nebraska. Nebraska's not a strong basketball school, so it's very possible. But, yeah, like you said, I think you hit it on the head. They're not going to play each other. They're never going to see each other unless it's a Big 10, Big 12 challenge or something like that.
Which
never happens.
And those athletic directors would never set up that matchup.
No, because
say, hey, dude, we both don't want this.
You know that it's all about the ACC Big 10.
Those challenges will never change. I am sure.
Mm-hmm.
The challenges are pretty
the SEC Big
now.
12 and the ACC Big 10. It'll never change.
But,
which it's fine. I like those a lot. Those are always really fun.
Final point here, as the Nebraska fan, tell me what you feel about the rumor of their possible head coach.
Well, I think it's exciting to have someone that's had success in that level, but people might look at it this way as be like, well, he never got past the Sweet 16. I was like, dude, we went to the. It would be nice to even be considered, to even be on the bubble of being in the tournament, let alone
to get to the Sweet 16.
Let alone getting to the
awesome.
Sweet. Right,
That's awesome.
Hoiberg's best roster was a number 3 seed and lost to UAB. I don't want to hear that stuff.
But what I'm saying is,
and I'm talking to Iowa State fans again, that was his best team. So you really need to think about where you're at now.
That was DeAndre Kane's team, right?
Potential, right? The potential now with the freshmen.
But did Hoiberg get to the Sweet 16?
He got to the Sweet 16,
okay.
yeah.
They did
but his best ranked team lost in like the third tip-off of March Madness, and I just like
who destroyed my bracket.
I remember that.
I'll never forget
because that was one Iowa State team that I did watch a lot. That's why I remember DeAndre Kane. And he was damn good.
But I think it's exciting. It's an exciting move to get someone, and I've noticed getting someone that has ties to the university is important. And I think, Lincoln is a lawless town that's in need of a nice mayor.
But you can't let that be too important, because if you let ties to the university get too important, you lend yourself to a situation where Steve Prohm is looking over his shoulder at the shadow of the guy who just left.
Now, flip side of this,
fans want.
Side of this, what if Hoiberg is very successful? So, and this is,
go Big Red.
I necessarily don't think, but what if he's successful and goes deep, maybe even an Elite Eight or something like that. And granted, this is Nebraska, so that's not going to happen.
And
But
Iowa
if that
State
were to
has
happen,
if Iowa State has a 13-17 season and Fred Hoiberg leads Nebraska to a round of 32 win, there will be riots in Ames. That's all it would take. No, I'm serious. And
I think I might break up. I think
these fans need to
she
hear
might
this.
leave me for that.
We need to be happy with where we are. And if there's no name attached to it, if there is no loyalties and ties attached to it, as a Nebraska fan, you're getting a coach with high-level college coaching experience, high-level college playing experience, and he walks into a recruit's living room and said, I got to the NBA and I played, and the only reason I stopped playing is because I had a heart condition. I have coached at the NBA level. I know what to do to get you there. And that's how he got some of these Iowa State recruits, is that sentence, I know how to get you there.
Yeah, because I think even more so than, say, like the NFL, if you're a football player in high school, if you're playing basketball and you're good at it, you're only going to college to set up your NBA career. That's really all it is to put a little resume for your NBA career. So it's exciting. I'm not going to get overly... I'm not going to have the Frost effect of, oh, this guy was from here, he's going to take us to the promise. I'm not going to get that yet because I'm someone who is realistic about this thing, and Nebraska is not necessarily the center of college basketball. You know, not you. And he doesn't like to recruit. He's gonna have to recruit if he wants any hope to compete against Ohio State, Michigan.
Get ready for the
any
grad
of these
transfers.
teams. Purdue,
Get ready for the grad transfers.
Iowa. Like he's gonna have to
The
recruit.
Big Ten is deep and good in basketball.
There were 8,
everywhere.
They had 8 teams in the tournament this year. That's the
They-
most of
they
any
the
conference.
most. Yep, and they won 7 of those.
Minnesota. I could keep naming teams that he would have to really compete with. But yeah,
Good teams.
I agree with you that Iowa State fans are in a good place. You're in a good spot.
And you need to chill.
He signed an
Calm
extension.
He signed an extension, which was in part because the job at his alma mater became available. Which no matter how good you are,
LSU,
Alabama.
Right.
Yep. So no matter how good you are, you need to lock up that guy when his college's job becomes available. But yeah, good podcast. First
Long one
back here. Yeah, a little longer than expected, but we had a lot to talk about, and we'll be back next week before the Final Four, going through where we went wrong on our Sweet 16.